The parable of the cow's tail, a famous Zen koan, asks, when a cow goes out of its enclosure to the edge of the abyss, its horns and head and its hooves all pass through, but why can't the tail also pass? Commenting on this, an old master says, if the cow runs, it will fall into the trench. If it returns, it will be butchered. That little tail is a very strange thing. In the quest for understanding of life, there comes a time when everyone is confronted with that little tail, the one tiny obstacle that stands in the way of complete fulfillment. We know that it is only a fraction of a hair's breadth in thickness, and yet we feel it as 1,000,000 miles wide. There is in mathematics an equation which, when drawn as a graph, appears as a curve that always nears but never touches a given line. At first the curve sweeps boldly towards that line, and the head, horns, and hoofs go clean through the gate. But just as the tail is about to pass, the curve straightens, leaving just a fraction of an inch between itself and the line. As it moves on, that fraction grows less and less, but still curve and line do not touch, and even though it be continued for 1,000 miles or 1,000 million miles, the gap remains, though. At each successive point, it becomes smaller. This curve represents the progress of human intellect towards enlightenment, grasping more and more subtle nuances of meaning at each stage of its journey. It is as if we stood bound to illusion by a hair. To weaken it, we split it with the knife of intellect, and split it again until its divisions become so fine that to make its cuts, the mind must be sharpened indefinitely. Yet however much we split this hair, the sum total of its divisions is not a whit thinner than the original hair. For the more fragile we make our bonds, the more is their number. Philosophically, this condition is known as infinite regression, and psychologically it is that mad, exasperating state that must always precede the final experience of awakening. We can demonstrate this by the famous triangle puzzle of Mahayana philosophy. The two base points of this triangle represent the pairs of opposites which confront us at every moment of our experience, subject and object, I and you, positive and negative, something and nothing. The apex represents the relation, the meaning between them, the principle that gives them reality, the one as distinct from the many. At the moment we set this one apart from the many, we create yet another pair of opposites, thus initiating a process which will continue indefinitely with ever-increasing complications. In the Bhagavad Gita, we are told to stand aside from our thoughts and feelings, to realize that they are not the self, and learn that the self is not the actor in actions, but the spectator of actions. But why not stand aside yet again from this first, standing aside and perceive that it is not the self that stands aside, for the self performs no action. This too may continue forever. The first step in Buddhism is right motive, and to attain enlightenment, it is said that we must do away with selfish desire. But if we have selfish desire in the beginning, surely the desire to get rid of it is also selfish. We desire to be rid of our selfishness for a selfish reason, and again, we may easily have a selfish reason for getting rid of the selfish reason for wanting to be selfless. An even more fundamental illustration of the problem may be found in the simplest statement of Eastern philosophy, namely that there is only one reality and that all diversity is illusion. This is a statement which almost all students of Eastern wisdom take very much for granted. It is the first thing they learn, and in fact it is about almost all there is to learn, for the rest is mere embroidery. It is a central principle of Vedanta, Mahayana, and Taoism alike. There are no two principles in the universe. There is only Brahman Tathata, or Tao. And enlightenment is just the realization of one's identity with it. But here the complications begin and the cow's tail gets stuck in the gate. For the moment we think this is Tao or that is Tao, we immediately make a distinction between Tao and this and that. Furthermore, as soon as we think that the object of religion is to identify ourselves with the Tao, we create the dualism of the Tao and ourselves that are to be identified with it. Dualism appears the moment we make an assertion or a denial about anything. As soon as we think that this is that or this is not that, we have the distinction between this and that. And even when we say that in reality there are no distinctions, we have the opposition of reality and distinctions. Moreover, let us consider this problem. If there is only Tao, how can there be any divergence from it? If there is only one reality, our thoughts enlightened or unenlightened must be it. There can be no distinction between reality and illusion. If there is only reality, whether you can concentrate your thoughts or not, whether they are of compassion or hatred, whether you are thinking about Buddhism or chewing your nails, you cannot by any means diverge from the Tao. You may love life or you may loathe it, yet your loving and loathing are themselves manifestations of life. If you seek union with reality, your very seeking is reality. And how can you say that you have ever lost union? To put it in another way, it is said that to be enlightened we must live in the eternal. Now, that infinitely small and therefore infinitely great point of time is called the present moment. The universe exists only in that moment, and it is said that the wise man moves with it, clinging neither to the past nor to the future, making his mind like the mirror that reflects everything instantly as it comes before it, yet making no effort to retain the reflection when the object is removed. The perfect man, says Chuang-Tzu, employs his mind as a mirror. It grasps nothing, it refuses nothing, it receives, but does not keep. Yet when the matter is carefully considered, we find that this is a description not of what we should do, but of what we cannot help doing in any case. For whether we think of the past or the future, and whatever we think about either of them, our thoughts exist in and partake of the eternal now. Otherwise, they would not exist at all. We cannot separate ourselves from this present moment, and if we imagine that enlightenment consists simply in living in the present, in thinking only about what is going on now, we find ourselves in the dualism of now. And then the point is that we can only think of what is going on now, even if we are thinking of the past or the future. For our thoughts about past and future are going on now, and we are thinking them. There's only one reality. Therefore, it will be asked, is enlightenment simply to live and think like any ignorant fool, not bothering about philosophy, mysticism, or morality, knowing that whatever you do, you cannot get out of harmony with the Tao? If we answer yes, we assert. If we say no, we deny. The tail is still caught in the gate. But if you think that you will each turn enlightened by living like an ignorant fool, you are still caught in the dualism of the you that must attain enlightenment. Indeed, there is no prescription for enlightenment, for as soon as we start saying that it is this or it is not this, we try two realities in the universe instead of one. In fact, you can think about philosophy or about eating and drinking. You can love mankind, you can hate it, you can do as you like, you can do as you don't like, you can discipline yourself, you can run wild, you can seek wisdom, you can ignore it, but you can't diverge from the Tao. For everything, anything and nothing is Tao. Is it? Beware of that is. The sting is in the tail.